Before Ibn Battuta, before any real exploration, before the Phoenicians, there was some Roman explorers that went to the West African coast 500 BC. In the Periplus of Hanno, it says and speaks of a voyage of people who traveled from a giant lake in Morocco all the way to West Africa, encountering people and animals. The animals they encounter, as we will see, some of them they mistook for humans. Not surprising, because they had never seen fauna or fauna of this type. The voyage of Hanno, king of Carthaginians, to the Libyan regions of the earth beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which he dedicated also in the temple of Baal, affixing this. It pleased the Carthaginians that Hanno should voyage outside the Pillars of Hercules and found cities of the Libya Phoenicians. And he set forth with 60 ships of 50 oars and a multitude of men and women to the number of 30,000, and with wheat and other provisions. Let's pause there. Firstly, when people talk about Romans or Phoenicians or Greeks in that area of Africa, they make it sound like it was only like 3,000 or 2,000 and then everyone else was native. But you can see here that we're talking about a fairly large group of people. I mean, this is just the people that he's going to travel with. After passing through the pillars, we went on and sailed for 2 days' journey beyond where we found the first city, which we called Thematrion. It lay in the midst of a great plain. Sailing thence towards the west, we came to Saulius, a promontory in Libya, bristling with trees. Having set up an altar here to Neptune, we proceeded again going towards the east of half the day, until we reached a marsh lying no great way from the sea, thickly grown with tall reeds. Here also were elephants and other wild beasts feeding in great numbers. Going beyond the marsh a day journey, we settled cities by the sea, which we called Caracas, Meris, Gittia, Accra, Melita, and Arambis. Sailing thence, we came to the Lixus, a great river flowing from Libya. By it a wandering people, the Lixitae, were pasturing their flocks, with whom we remained some time, becoming friends. Okay, so this river that they're talking about is in Morocco, and it goes into the west and east side of Morocco. It's the biggest river in Morocco. Above these folk lived unfriendly Ethiopians, dwelling in a land full of wild beasts and shut off by great mountains, from which they say the Lixus flows, and on mountains live men of various shapes, cave dwellers, who, so the Lixitae say, are fleeter or foot than horses. Taking interpreters from them, we sailed 12 days towards south along a desert, turning thence towards the east. 1 day's sail. There, within the recess of the bay, we found a small island having a circuit of 15 stadia, which we settled and called it Cerne. From our journey we judged it to be situated opposite Carthage, for the voyage from Carthage to the Pillars and thence to Cerne was the same. Thence sailing by a great river whose name was Critus, we came to a lake which had 3 islands larger than CERN. Running a day's sail beyond these, we came to the end of the lake, above which rose great mountains peopled by savage men wearing skins of wild beasts, who threw stones at us and prevented us from landing from our ships. Sailing thence, we came to another river, very great and broad, which was full of crocodiles and hippopotamuses. And then we turned about and went back to CERN. Thence we sailed towards the south 12 days, following the shore, which was peopled by Ethiopians, who fled from us and would not wait, and their speech the Lixate who were with us could not understand. Now I want you to keep that in mind. The fact that they think that the Lixate would understand this Ethiopian language tells you what race the Lixate was. But on the last day we came to great wooded mountains. The wood of the trees was fragrant and of various kinds. Sailing around these mountains for 2 days, we came to an immense opening of the sea, from either side of which there was level ground inland, from which at night we saw fire leaping up on every side at intervals, now greater, now less. Having taken in water, sailed along the shore of 5 days, until we came to a great bay, which our interpreters said was called Horn of the West. In it there was a large island, and within the island a lake of the sea, in which there was another island. Landing there during the day, we saw nothing but forests, but by night many burning fires, and we heard the sound of pipes and cymbals, and the noise of drums and great uproar. Then fear possessed us, and the soothsayers commanded us to leave the island, and then quickly sailing forth, we passed by a burning country full of fragrance, from which great torrents of fire flowed down to the sea. But the land could not be come at for the heat, and we sailed along with all speed, being stricken by fear. After a journey of 4 days, we saw the land at night covered with flames, and in the midst there was a lofty fire greater than the rest, which seemed to touch the stars. By day this was seen to be a very high mountain, called Chariot of the Gods. Thence sailing along by the fiery torrents for 3 days, we came to a bay called Horn of the South in the Rhesus. For this bay there was an island like the former one, having a lake, in which there was an island full of savage men. There were women too in even greater number. They had hairy bodies, and the interpreters called them gorillae. When we pursued them, we were unable to take any of the men, for they all escaped by climbing the steep places and defending themselves with stones. But we took 3 of the women, who bit and scratched their leaders, and would not follow us. So we killed them and flayed them, and brought their skins to Carthage, for we did not voyage further, provisions failing us. The good thing about this translation or this writing by the author is that it gives us exact place names that we can place today, for they didn't change for a long time. And you can see that they landed somewhere in Senegal. But not only this, we can confirm that they got there because they describe gorillas, which they misinterpret as a type of human, for gorillas. Many people have mistaken them for a type of human, and their description is very evident as he describes them as very hairy and of course they run up a mountain when they try to approach them, except they captured three, which they interpreted as women, probably because of their size, and they tried to catch them, and they scratched and bit and kicked, which is typical of gorilla behavior, and they had to kill them in order to keep them, and then they kept their skins. It's very obvious that they're talking about gorillas here, something that they would not have encountered until they reached this region. This is very good evidence that they were actually in West Africa for real. And then, of course, they had to turn back. But there are more other people from this time who actually came down hearing stories like these that inspired them to go look. Something else that's fascinating that he paints is this drums and cymbals at night that keep coming on, and then during the daytime it's just silent, and then it comes on at night and there's constantly great fires and people playing drums. This tells you the activities that were probably going on at the time, in that at night it wasn't just sleep time. Instead, there was a lot of stuff going on at night in this part of Africa, very typical of the Niger or Bantu to operate in night times doing some work, unlike other tribes.